Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ, King of endless glory.
The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus took Peter, John, and James and went up the mountain to pray. While he was praying, his face changed in appearance and his clothes became dazzling white. And behold, two men were conversing with him, Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his exodus that he was going to accomplish in Jerusalem. Peter and his companions had been overcome by sleep. But becoming fully awake, they saw his glory and the two men standing with him. As they were about to part from him, Peter said to Jesus, "Master, it is good that we are here. Let us make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." But he did not know what he was saying. While he was still speaking, a cloud came and cast a shadow over them, and they became frightened when they entered the cloud. Then from the cloud came a voice that said, "This is my chosen son. Listen to him." After the voice had spoken, Jesus was found alone. They fell silent and did not at that time tell anyone what they had seen. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ, King of endless glory.
A movie called Mask is based on the true story of a 16-year-old boy named Rocky Dennis. He has a rare disease that causes his skull and bones, the bones of his face, to grow larger than they should. And because of that, Rocky's face is terribly misshaped and disfigured. His grotesque appearance causes some people to shy away from him, and others to snicker and laugh at him. And through it all, Rocky never pities himself. He doesn't give way to anger. He feels bad about his appearance, but he accepts it as part of life. One day, Rocky and some of his friends visit an amusement park, and they go into a house of mirrors, and they begin to laugh at how distorted their bodies and their faces look. And suddenly, Rocky sees something that startles him. One mirror distorts his misshapen face in such a way that it appears normal, even strikingly handsome. And for the first time, Rocky's friends see him in a whole new way. They see him from the outside what he is on the inside, a truly beautiful person. Well, something like that happens to Jesus in today's gospel. During his transfiguration, the disciples of Jesus saw him in a whole new way. For the first time, they saw him from the outside what he is on the inside, the glorious, beautiful Son of God. And this brings up a question. Why is the transfiguration of Jesus put among the Lenten readings, which are usually sober and grim, instead of among the Easter readings, which usually deal with the glory of Jesus? Well, the answer to this question can be found in the things that lead up to the Transfiguration. The Transfiguration happened right after Jesus told his disciples that he had to go up to Jerusalem to suffer and die. When Peter heard Jesus say this, he protested, "God forbid, Lord, no such thing shall ever happen to you." And Jesus said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are an obstacle to me. You are not thinking as God does, but the way human beings do." Peter, James, and John probably needed a spiritual shot in the arm after that shocking revelation. And maybe that's why the church puts the Transfiguration in its Lenten readings. The church wants to give us a shot in the arm before it invites us to contemplate the suffering of Jesus on Good Friday. But there's another reason why the Transfiguration is included among the Lenten readings. It's because the Transfiguration has a striking similarity to the agony in the garden. Like the agony in the garden, which took place on a mountain, the Mount of Olives, the Transfiguration also took place on a mountain, on Mount Tabor. And like the agony in the garden, the Transfiguration was witnessed by only 3 disciples, Peter, James, and John. And like the agony in the garden, which took place at night, the Transfiguration also took place at night. And in both situations, the disciples had fallen asleep while Jesus remained awake praying. And finally, there's an important reason that the two events, the agony in the garden and the Transfiguration, complement each other. On Mount Tabor, the 3 disciples saw Jesus in a moment of ecstasy, when his divinity showed itself in a way that they had never seen before. On the Mount of Olives, on the other hand, they saw Jesus in a moment of agony, when his humanity showed itself in a way that it had never showed itself before. Mount Tabor and the Mount of Olives reveal the striking contrast between the humanity and the divinity of Jesus. The 2 mountain events are inescapable and inseparable sides of the same coin. They show us the total Jesus in a total way, his humanity and his divinity. And it's right here that these 2 mountain events have an important practical message for us today. Like Jesus, each one of us has a twofold dimension about us. There is in each one of us something that is human and something that is divine. There is in each one of us a spark of Adam and Eve and a spark of God. Like Jesus on Mount Tabor, we also experience moments of ecstasy when the spark of God shows itself so brightly that it almost blinds us. We feel so close to God that it seems that we can almost reach out and touch him. During these moments, we are astounded at how beautiful life is. We love everyone. We hug our friends and forgive our enemies. And on the other hand, like Jesus on the Mount of Olives, we also experience moments of agony. During these moments, the spark of Adam and Eve expresses itself so painfully and so sharply in us that the spark of God flickers and almost dies. During these moments, life is miserable. We feel that no one loves us. We find fault with our friends and we curse our enemies. We doubt whether God even exists. And when these moments of agony and ecstasy come, we should remember the two mountains, Mount Tabor and the Mount of Olives. We should remember that Jesus also experienced these same high points and low points in his life. We should remember something even more important. We should remember that on both occasions, during the ecstasy of Mount Tabor and during the agony on the Mount of Olives, Jesus prayed. If prayer is the way that Jesus responded to these moments, then it should be the way that we respond to them too. And if we do the way that Jesus did during the transfiguration on Mount Tabor, we too will hear our Father say to us, "This is my chosen Son, my chosen daughter." And like Jesus during his agony on the Mount of Olives, we too will experience the touch of the Father's healing hand. Let's close now with a prayer. God our Father, let us know moments of ecstasy like the one Jesus knew on Mount Tabor. When these moments come, let us do what Jesus did. Let us turn to you in prayer, and let us hear you say to us, "You are my chosen child." And Father, in the same way, when moments of agony come to us, as they did to Jesus on the Mount of Olives, let us too do what Jesus did. Let us turn to you in prayer, and let us feel the touch of your healing hand.